This is a good morning to go into the Bible. I'm up to Acts chapter 10 right now in a reading that is happening every other day. So one chapter every 2 days. I have been very blessed this summer in feeling that the Holy Spirit's put it upon my heart to go through the Gospel of John, the book of Acts, and then after that, the book of Romans, and to slow down and to read texts in the Bible that I know I've read many times, and I bet a lot of you've read many times too. Morning, Casey on vacation, world traveler and scuba diver. Those photos and videos you all posted yesterday were amazing, and I do hope you framed some of it because that's just beautiful. I'm joined this morning by a chickadee that is pecking on a branch like a woodpecker. I don't know if you can hear that. It's cool. Love it. But chapter 10, what's happened leading up to it, I spoke the other day about in chapter 9, Saul was converted on the road to Damascus. It talks a little bit more about his basic healing of his soul and his mind and his eyes. And then he starts to preach, and already facing persecution. The gospel of Jesus is not wanted in Bible times. It's not wanted now by many, many people. And folks that preach that gospel will be attacked, will be persecuted, will be vilified, will be lied about, and will be told to go far, far away. Well, chapter 10 starts with a story about a centurion named Cornelius. So, hey, Aunt Margaret, good to see you out there. Cornelius is, like I said, a Roman. It says in this translation from the Italian regiment. So we're starting to see the word of Jesus, the gospel message, heading into the Gentile folks. And that's what this passage, chapter 10, verses 9 through 16, is about. It's about Peter, Simon Peter. And if you know Simon Peter, you know that he is headstrong, fiery. Sometimes he's a mess, and sometimes I like to say from the pulpit at Drennan, there's a lot about modern day good Christian folks, men and women, that we can look back to Peter and say, yeah, we're kind of like him. Bullheaded, stubborn, loudmouthed at times, easy to run and cower away when the chips are down. Remember what Peter did the night of the betrayal. Well, starting at chapter 10, verse 9 through 16, this is a story that in the New King James Version that I've been reading is subtitled Peter's Vision. Starting at verse 9, it says, "The next day, as they went on their journey and drew near the city, Peter went up on the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. Then he became very hungry and wanted to eat. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven opened and an object like a great sheet bound at the four corners descending to him and let down to the earth. In it were all kinds of four-footed animals of the earth, wild beasts, creeping things, and birds of the air. And a voice came to him, 'Rise, Peter, kill and eat.' But Peter said, 'Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything common or unclean.' And a voice spoke to him again the second time, 'What God has cleansed, you must not call common.' This was done 3 times, and the object was taken up into heaven again." Now, the person that Peter was spoken to by is written in red ink in this Bible. We know who that is. Interesting how he works in threes again. Peter denied Jesus 3 times the night of the betrayal, and then when they met again in John 21 on the seashore from a night of fishing for breakfast, Jesus forgave Peter 3 times, and here he's showing him 3 times that to be done with some of the old ways of saying things are unclean. What's happening now is that Peter has been so wrapped up in his Judaism and in his legalism in some ways that he feels like he's got to continue on with that in the way he eats ceremonially, in the way he acts, but also in who is to receive the gospel message. That might come across as a little bit prejudiced on Peter's part, and I think that's fair. And this is part of a transformation in Simon Peter, that now the message is for everyone. I'm going to share from chapter 10, verses 44 through 48 on Sunday morning at Drennan, and it speaks about how that message is for the Gentiles, which means it's for everybody. It's not just a message for the Jews. Now, it is a message that came to the Jews first and then spread out, and you know that Peter is essentially the minister to the Jews, and Saul/Paul becomes the minister to the Gentiles. And really, the gospel message proceeds outward from Jerusalem in every which direction. If you read about the disciples later on, certainly through the book of Acts, but even further than that in other historic accounts and in tradition, we mostly understand that the disciples went not only there in the Middle East, but into Asia, into Africa, and into Europe too. And we don't often think about the fact of the Bible and the disciples taking place in Europe. But there's decent evidence and certainly tradition that holds that at least one of the disciples got all the way into the British Isles, a long way, and what people here in America might call the old country. So that gospel message got preached. It took a while, though, for someone like Peter to understand that even though this was a Jewish prophet, Jesus, who was spoken of in Jewish text for hundreds and thousands of years, that his message was open to all. And I'd say that here in 2023, I'm sitting in Newcastle, Kentucky, and you can hear the traffic, not only cars and trucks, but tractors going by, and a very persistent chickadee. But the gospel message is for here. The gospel message is for everyone. If you feel like the gospel message is not for you, that you are unworthy of that there's some reason or another, private or public, that your sin is too great for Jesus to die for you, please put that thought away. Feel welcome. This Bible is written about you, it's written about me, it's written about everyone on this earth. You just have to receive it. We invite you to come into our chapel. There is a church family waiting for you there that will surround you with love. Folks young and old. We have our youngest parishioner that's active right now is about a month old, and a little over a month. He's not even due to be born until next week. He's such a preemie. And our oldest active member that will be in the chapel most weeks is 93. Probably if you're watching this, your age is somewhere between there, between 1.5 months and 93. So come on in and be with us. Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, Drennan Springs Chapel.